to the 5th episode of the Huntington Wiffle League podcast. I'm your host, Josh Smith, with my co-hosts,
Greg Sowards.
Jeremy Litton.
Yes, Jeremy Litton, our producer, and two special guests from the Honey Badgers.
You think the Honey Badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.
Josh Berletich and Arielle Hord. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Right. So, just some things to talk about the league as a whole first before we get on to the interviews and the decision in question. Okay. Huntington Wiffle League, the 2014 season starts April 1st. Open registration begins like 2 months ago, but still going on now. $30 a player. You can have 3 to 6 players on a team. Pay before March 1st, and it stays at $30 a player. March 2nd, I don't care. It's $40 a player. You still get to pay before you play 2 weeks before the season starts when spring training begins, and we'll also probably have a preseason tournament only for teams that have pay.
And by the way, Josh, isn't there like a PayPal link on the website so you can pay?
Why, yes, there is, Jeremy. If you go to huntingtonwiffleball.com and click on join in the navigation bar, you will notice there is a PayPal option. Also, if you believe the internet is evil and you want to pay in person, meet me under the bridge at the West Side exit in Huntington, West Virginia. Suitcase full of cash, no cops. Or you could come to the winter meeting on February 4th at Fat Patty's in Huntington at 7 o'clock p.m. through like 8 o'clock p.m. or 9 o'clock, whatever. We'll probably be drunk. But come and you can pay in person. Also, all captains need to be present for drawings to figure out which division people are going to be in and debating rules. And then the final ruling of will we be Yellow Bat or will we not. Also, if you go to the website, you may take a moment just to sort of casually notice that it looks way fucking different from the way it did at the beginning of the year. So it's a lot better. We're a top 10 site now. Show it some love. I'm only losing sleep for you people. Show me some love and go to the site. Okay.
Just want to reiterate, the vote on the Yellow Bat has to be in person at the meeting.
Has to be in person at the meeting.
You cannot submit it to us at any other time. Mm-hmm. You need to be present.
So like I voted on the website because I had a little vote thing.
Well, that vote could be for people who are in Russia and have no idea what they're doing, trying to learn English through Rosetta Stone. If they want.
Vote for Yellow Bat. Okay.
Yeah. So, the final decision will come down to a captain's vote, but we're still trying to pass the literature out. We're leaning so far, I think, a 70% majority of the online poll towards Yellow Bat. So it's looking like we're going to go Skinny Bat. Banana Bats is where it's at. Okay.
Original wiffle ball.
Yes.
How it's meant to be played.
As Truck said, if you're playing wiffle ball with anything on your wiffle equipment, it's wiffle ball with an H, not wiffle ball with an I. Okay, so moving on. Special guests, Josh Berletich and Arielle Hord. They're not brother and sister. They're just a couple, so relax, everybody. Yep. We know this is West Virginia. We may have some people listening from Ohio.
She's from Ohio. Yeah. I'm from a little bit everywhere.
Okay.
4.5 years of dating.
So, we have the rare pleasure. It's the first time we've had guests other than Jeremy, which he's a co-host now, so it doesn't really count. First time we've had people that we're interviewing that were part of the old league in Hurricane, West Virginia as well. So it's kind of nice to have some seasoned players that have been around.
Some veterans, if you would.
People that have seen the sport in this state go from nothing to what it is now.
Good for are we meeting on Tuesday?
Yeah.
No, okay, all right. I got something
this leisurely, maybe we should get to the park and play some ball for a little bit to uniform requirements and all this thing now. So, Josh Berletich, you started your career in wiffle ball in 2006 with the Garrett Drive Wiffle Ball League. Arielle started hers in 2010. The league went through a lot of changes, and your franchise went through a lot of changes, and then leading us up to now with the Honey Badgers. So, a lot of history between you two and the league and the sport as a whole in the state. So, without further ado, I'd like to get the interview started. We're going to have some questions for Arielle and then some questions for Josh. Feel free to chime in at any time interchangeably for any of those questions, except some of them are pretty specific. Okay, so without further ado, let's get the interview started. Greg, would you like to start?
Arielle, is it any different being a woman in a man's league?
It is in a way. Sometimes I feel like we're viewed as the weaker one.
The easy out?
Yeah, exactly. The easy out. Okay, she's up to bat. Easy out. But to me, it drives me harder, to be a better player, be a more intense person on the field. And, I grew up kind of as a tomboy, playing football, that kind of stuff. So I've always been involved with teams and sports that were male-dominated, but, it's it's kind of cool because, you know, you can hang out with the guys and, like, you know, but, you know, I don't think it changes my mentality any. You know, I'm not, oh, woe is me. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, doing this will show the other women, you know, that playing with these guys is fun and you can do it. And just because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't come out and play. You know, I've been playing for, this will be 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years.
It's a long time for some people.
Right, exactly. It's 4 years is a big commitment,
Some
right?
people, they like it or they don't, and they just keep playing or they don't.
Right, exactly. You know, so I have seen it change quite a bit, but, you know, I don't hold the fact that I'm a girl any different. You know, I don't expect any special treatment or anything. I think it's a good way to just get out there and play, and who cares if I'm a girl?
I think the benefit of, like, you being in the league for as long as you have is no one treats you any differently either. I mean, when you get up to bat, no one's throwing you softer pitches or anything like that.
They hit me.
I just try not to hit you. That's really my goal. I have a history of memeing you with the ball.
You know.
Yeah.
I do.
Every time.
It's a gravitational thing. I don't know.
Right.
So I think you getting fair treatment just like anybody else out there on the field, I think that also helps as well.
There's no glass ceiling for wiffle ball, I don't think.
No.
I don't think with our league anyway. There's some
Right.
leagues that are just more competitive, and if you didn't play high school ball, then you're going to have trouble. You know?
Right.
Or if you didn't play single A baseball in some of these leagues up in New York, you're not going to hang. But, you know, through fall ball, we saw people like Stephanie and Kara, you know, they go toe-to-toe. You know, and Stephanie's she's a captain of her team. Kara, she was going yard all the time.
And some of the, I mean, and me as a pitcher, even some of those girls, it's like, man, I really don't want to pitch against them because they're just hard to get out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the closest some of us have ever been. You know, I don't think any of us in the room actually played any high school ball or anything like that. At baseball, anyway.
Yeah.
Very, very early on, you get to find out, like, there are the people that are that level and that are not. And you feel outmatched, but this sport makes it special. Like, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, but when it comes down to the dollars and cents, everyone's pretty much on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for somebody like her and I, you know, she played softball in high school. I played some baseball. You know, it's completely different. Like this wiffle ball, just her and I, just the way rules are, like, you know,
The whole first pitch strike.
thing. Yeah.
I love those. The differences. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's easy for someone who hasn't played baseball for, you know, ever to get used to that real quickly. But for someone like her or even someone like me, you know, you're kind of like taught to take the first pitch.
That's
to see
conditioning.
what the pitcher's like. But at the same time, I think, like, I guess this gets on to another question, so I'll just hold that comment.
Well, something else that we could probably piggyback off of there is after the last podcast, Greg and I, for various reasons, were still awake. We had a DD and
A lot of other things we can't discuss.
it was a whole thing, confidential, hush hush. But we hung out till about 2 a.m. and we revised the rule book. And I don't know how much you guys remember from the original rule book from the inaugural season in 2012, but there were these basically like LPGA female players can tee off a little closer.
Right.
And a lot of other sports that are trying to kind of be integrated. There's like I think probably for NCAA, college basketball, the 3-point line is probably closer to the hoop for women than it is for men, you know.
Right.
And so we tried to parallel that, you know, the lady bat and lady teams could have one more fielder than teams comprised only of males, and they could use a different bat or they could pitch from closer. The first thing we did was completely got rid of any of that. We erased that because we saw, you know, we only have 4 or 5 female players, but they can ball, you know. And I think the regular rules for everybody, as you could see it from the original rule book, it's pretty bare minimum. Any more than that, and it's too easy, or it's embarrassing if you still somehow underperform, despite the advantageous outlook that a female player may have. So what do you think about everyone is on the same level for real? There's no adaptations for rules.
Well, and I mean, I think that's good for us because, you know, we want to be out there playing, and I don't like having special treatment or anything like that. You know, give me the ball, give me the bat, let's go. Let's do this. Hold me the same standard you hold everybody else to. I mean, that's only fair. And then there's not that gray line of, you know, well, you know, was she too close? You know, that kind of stuff. So if you hold everybody to the same standard, same rules, it's going to be less messy.
It felt really good to just eliminate that. I was like, yeah, it was kind of shackled, but we most of that rule book for that year we borrowed from the Kalamazoo Wiffle League, which when they last did the rules, they had several female players, and a lot of them were just goofing off and stuff like that. But I don't really think we have many people that are just there just to goof off. People want to compete, they want to play, they want to have a good time.
Right.
But you don't need all these. It just seems silly sometimes when you look at it like that. When we just have a handful of female players to have like some severe advantages,
Right.
And, a lot of those things, like if they had a 600% or a 600 slugging percent or something like that, then you go back to the regular bat. But then you have to police that, and we talked about that exhaustively even with the yellow bat discussion. But it just seemed like the right thing to do was just to go back to the basics, everyone. Because we did that for years with the old league, and it was fine.
Right.
So why not go back to that?
Well, and two, you don't have to worry about teams having 2 or 3 girls and then teams that are all guys playing against each other.
Yeah.
It's a level playing field for everybody. There's no discrepancy between anything. Just make it across the board.
And we'll be right back after this short break. I've known you guys for about 4 years now, and ever since 2010, that first season over at Hurricane, you two have both been crippled.
That's a good way to put it.
Sensitivity's not Jeremy.
Both of you have worn the knee brace and just still managed to outclass just about everyone out on the field. How do you do it? How do you outclass everyone crippled?
Well, my quote-unquote crippling started my sophomore year of high school with clamps and screws in my knee. So I've learned to live with it. Yeah, it hurts. Can I run very fast? No. Do I get made fun of for it by my teammates? Yes.
Your arms are faster than your legs.
Editing the video is a treat. I gotta say, it's fun.
It's a lot of icing when we get off the field.
You guys should see us like after the games, after like everything's over, and we're walking over to Taco Bell, and we're like our whole team is just a bunch of old people. Like, oh god,
we're like that.
My knees.
We're like sludge as we fill the Waffle House. We're just like, we just sink into those seats.
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed that you have like a pre-game ritual. You guys stretch, and you don't just stretch on your own. You got like somebody like holds someone's shoulder while they're like popping it. And you're like, I wouldn't be surprised. I've been to like pre-games for like minor league baseball and stuff. You guys do many of those. Do you do that out of necessity, or do you do that also for like, this
intimidation?
This is a thing to do.
I think part of it is necessity because with like us, we've got to get these joints warmed up. I've got to get my knees going, my arms and shoulders and everything loose. And then part of it, it's for her and I, and maybe even some of our teammates, it's become a habit because we've played sports before. So you've kind of been taught to warm up before you really get to playing so you don't injure yourself even more. So I think part of that with us warming up before the game helps with us not really injuring ourselves any more than us laying our bodies out for dodging balls or anything like that.
Trying to contain the damage at the present level.
I've got the knees of an 80-year-old woman, so I'm trying not to make them 90-year-old woman knees.
But you guys have set a good example. I bought a couple of things that you put like the ice bags in for your shoulders and your elbow. I mean, it's very important you ice because you're not going to last very long. You would not last a season.
Right.
The fact that Greg's done, he pitched and pitched and pitched. He pitched like 19 complete games last year. And he pitched as much as he was allowed at the tournament. Somehow he's got an arm left, but eventually it'll catch up with you. And these injuries they seem like they're not going to get you. We're going to test for some performance enhancing.
I'm a machine.
but I mean, and that's the honest the truth though. It's like like she wears knee braces, I wear knee braces. She's had her injuries, I've had mine. But we do ice when we get home. I feel it in my shoulder. There's been a couple of times in this past fall, and in years past where, I laid down and my shoulder's hurting.
Yeah.
And it's because of, how hard I throw that ball.
Sometimes you don't feel it till a day or two.
Yeah,
later.
and it
That's the
takes a
worst,
while.
Yeah.
And then by that point, it's a little too late to ice. Like, the pain's there, it's not going away.
Yeah. Sometimes just time. By the time next week rolls around, you're just then starting to feel better. Like,
Yeah.
We were, Greg and I were not on the same team last year. That was the only team. About 2 years we weren't on the same team, and it was just so foreign because we were so used to having like a rotation. And then when you're carrying that load, you just get used to the pain. You just play through the pain after a while. But then there's just that ceiling. You're just like, this is it. I can't do anymore.
I've not met that yet.
Yeah. Well, some of us are human, but
right.
sort of a follow-up question to do with the knee braces. On opening day, I'm expecting to see all the teams in team uniforms. So I'm seeing, you guys are going to be wearing like crimson red jerseys with the iron-on numbers on the back that somehow inexplicably have stayed on for like 4 years.
Because I'm really cool like that.
She's amazing at arts and crafts.
I'm an arts and crafts person.
I usually see more stuff too. So, yeah, the numbers are great, but the iron-on transfers, they fade away after a while. But am I to expect, if you got 6 players, if you are coming back, if we're still pending the decision here, is everyone going to be wearing knee braces, even if they don't need them, just as a preliminary?
It's not a team requirement, but the people that we've seen to just gather up, like her and I, obviously we've got knee problems. David started wearing a knee brace after what happened to him, not last
fall ball,
year.
but the
I think he started wearing it the first year. I was like, Jesus, you all started early.
He just kind of, I think he slipped and just hurt his knee, and then he just started wearing it out of precaution.
He had a really hard swing.
Yeah.
He leaned too much on his front foot.
And then the other potential players that we've tried to either recruit to join our team or not, oddly enough, some of them are old and have injuries as well.
I think I know what happens. You have a pickup truck with like a hound dog in it, and you got a cardboard sign, a Sharpie, and you're sitting on the tailgate outside of an orthopedic surgeon's office.
Yeah.
Like, they say you're prime. Come to me. You got like a big league chew in your mouth or something like that, and you spit into nowhere.
You just hear ding.
Yeah, you're like hand him a hollow plastic ball. It's like, relive your glory days. Join us.
It seems like our nickname around the field are the Crips, because
we're just not clever enough to come up with something that rhymes with Badgers.
Exactly. So just call us the Crips. We're the crippled ones, and sometimes I even have to break out the ankle brace.
Yeah.
Depending on how bad it is.
But one more thing to our longevity as far as wearing these knee braces is we know our limits. And, she knows whether, she can dive for a ball or reach something or
run. Or run,
let alone that fact. But
it just better go. It better leave the ballpark.
Yeah. Or I walk.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that we know our limits. We know what, we can push our body to. And then again, we've come to the realization that at the age of 25 and 26.
I don't want to talk about how old I am.
25 and 21.
Again.
Yeah. That, we're not in the same shape that we were when we were 18 or even 16 or anything like that. And so we know our limitations of what we can do. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah. There was actually one point last season where I decided to, sideline myself for the rest of the game because nothing was functioning properly in my lower extremities. So.
Well, I mean,
I can't feel my legs.
Where you guys are.
Speaking of your limitations, your franchise has had your ups and downs. Has the Honey Badgers peaked at all, or are your bright days ahead of you?
I think
if we come back,
and I get the players, on that I want for my team, I think
Who are they?
The people we've looked at,
we're considering
that we're considering if we decide to come back.
That was very Cosby. Also, it's like the people. We're looking at.
You put the people in the,
You put the people on the team, and they put the points on the board.
That's just that simple. But we'd like to bring back pretty much everybody that we've played fall ball with. I think if we can get that collective group, everybody together, because everybody has a unique asset that they can bring to the team. We've definitely got guys like Paul and David who are proven fielders. Especially Paul, what I like to say, he's playing the hot corner. who, I mean, I've seen some balls go at him that I'm like, God, I mean, I can't. You look at him, and he looks kind of clumsy looking, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's like the Derek Jeter for my team. And
I love
don't
his
like the
energy, though.
Yankees.
I don't even think he even does some of the amazing plays he's done on purpose. It's just they just fall in his lap.
It just happens.
He
to him.
really tries. That's why I like watching. When he joined your team, I was enjoying watching you guys play, but he sort of brought some heart,
Right.
into the team, and really, you guys kind of, you'd reach like what you could do
with 3 people.
Yeah, and then you brought like this wild card in. It's like I don't think you guys even knew what to expect.
No.
Right.
And,
We had never even actually met him before he started playing with us.
Like the day he played with us was the first day we met him. And that even goes back to when it was just her and I back in 2012. You get to a point where you just can't do it with 2 people anymore. So then we bring on David. And David has a unique asset. And like you like to call him the golden retriever. When David's on in the outfield, he is on. I mean, there's not much that gets by him. I think, but at the same time with David, he struggled with his bat this past year in fall ball. We're not sure what it is, but, not everybody on our team, we believe, has to hit. Especially if, there's a decision on a yellow bat, it takes it down to you only really might need 1 run to win. Mm-hmm. But then we, this past fall we had Kyle, and I swear, like, it was like having like a major league player on your team. The guy could just crush the ball.
That's
not sure.
name.
Yeah, and we're not sure how he can do fielding. He seemed to do pretty decent when we were playing fall ball, but we only had him for 1 day through what was it?
3
games.
3 games.
But
But we won all 3 of them.
Your games were won decisively, and it was no small part due to him.
I know that I watched him get intentionally walked at least once, even on his first day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just kept hitting I haven't edited all. I've just scratched the surface of editing video from fall ball. The most footage we have is from the 5th week, but I'm expecting. I don't remember how many home runs he hit. I could look it up, but it would take too long. But it was every time I was watching. And my attention was divided the entire time. He was hitting the ball over the fence.
And it was really nice, if I was on base and all I had to do was just walk around the rest of the bases.
Yeah, the less running you have to do, the better.
Well, you don't even have to run the bases anymore. People just you hit the ball and just sort of walk away. Some people think that's kind of cocky, but it's just like Greg came up with the idea. It's a time killer,
Right.
Now, if you want to run the bases, if it's your only home run you hit in your career, not everybody knows what that's like. But
I just enjoy running the bases.
You just want to run the bases. So, some people want to relish in the moment, but we had a couple teams last year. It
was redundant.
Ding Dong Daddy City. It was just like nonstop.
Maroon Squad.
Yeah, Maroon Squad. They hit probably about 100 home runs together last year. So, you have your excessive points. They're for the yellow bat switchover we're proposing. So,
but I mean, in my opinion, I think again, if we get the right collective group of guys and gals, not to be sexist or anything, but the right group of guys and gals together, that I think our best days are. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Arielle?
Well, if we come back, I believe we can get together a pretty good team.
Okay. I'm hearing a lot of ifs in a lot of your questions here. I want to hold off on this, but it seems that, I don't know what your decision is based off of, if it's can you get the roster together or what, but let me just come out with it. What is the decision? Are you coming back, Arielle and Josh, for the 2014 season or not?
The conclusion.
We finished fall ball on such a run, winning seven straight games. I mean, we bombed. We thought we were going to come back and just dominate everybody. It's like we kind of left pretty awesome. We're going to come back, play fall ball, and still be pretty awesome, and then we get housed the first 3 games. We're like, we got to do something.
I was worried.
Yeah.
You guys were getting whipped pretty hard.
Yeah, and that helped, getting some other teammates in there. And so we left on a pretty high note, 7 straight wins against teams that housed us in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then we got back at them.
But on the other hand, we also have to think about if our bodies can hold up.
Right. I mean, we're not getting any younger. Our knees aren't getting any better. You know, and a lot of us are getting to, you know, big points in our lives. You know, David and his fiance, you know, are going to get married here, not this year, but next year. But I mean, they're at that point in their life. You know, and I'm back in grad school. You know, and you know, so it's hard to tell what, you know, I would do with that. And then there's a potential player that, you know, he's got a job that there's times. I mean, and he's a dear friend of ours. His name's Aaron. There's times that he doesn't even know what he's gonna, you know, what his day's gonna be like that day.
Right.
We want to come back.
Is getting a team together at all a factor in your decision? Either direction.
I think. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think if we wanted to, we would have the ability to find teammates. I don't think that would be an issue.
I mean, I guess it even sounds like you view it differently than I view it.
Yeah, we do have, you know, differing views.
I mean, well, you view it.
You are two different people.
We are, obviously,
allowed
but
to.
I mean, from the view of the standpoint, I guess I would have a trust issue if I had like players on my team that either I haven't played against, you know, or I mean, I guess if like you two were on the free agency, I'd have no problem. I'd have no problem like bringing you over because I know what you guys have.
It'd be such a bummer if we sucked too.
But like people,
brain trust together.
I would have played with, you know, I would have no problem trusting. But somebody brand new, for me personally, it would be a little hard. I'm not sure what they would be worth, and you know, I would like to think that I hold our team and how we play to a high standard. I certainly, you know, I'm sure Arielle can agree with me that we don't want to be cellar dwellers. We definitely want to be competitors, and that's just our nature, and that's the kind of people we want on our team. She says she has no problem with it. Me, on the other hand, you know, if I can get the guys that I want, then I want to put a team out there.
Yeah.
So part of it is kind of on decision, but for the most part, from what we've heard, you know, through people, I guess it's just getting that $30. Need the $30.
Pay now.
Yeah, please pay.
You can use the website.
You
can use
you
PayPal.
Anybody that was wanting to be on Team Honey Badger could just pay me the $30. I will ensure that Josh gets it. I will not take your money.
Yeah.
So, I guess what we're saying, that all being said, I guess
that in 2014,
the Honey Badgers will be back.
Be back.
That was adorable.
But yeah, we're coming back.
Did you guys work on that?
No, that was completely like ad-libbed. But we share brainwaves.
When you've been together for 4.5 years, about to be 5, you just kind of know. I mean, like,
there's times when
she finishes farts for me.
There's times when Beth is saying something that doesn't make any sense, and I'm like, I totally understand what you're saying, and I'm not lying. It's just like
it just happens.
I get it.
And it goes the other way. Like, I'll just be destroying something I'm saying. She's like, totally agree. And I'm like, all right.
But we're coming
That's
back.
mainly just to shut you up, Josh.
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah. She's enabling me.
But you can expect the Honey Badgers to be competing in 2014. From the sounds of it, David is most certainly coming back. We've had some competition from our own teammate, Paul. He's kind of thought about putting his own team together.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
I know. And I told him, I was like, if you put your own team together, I'm taking Kyle anyhow.
Biting the hand that feeds you.
I know. It's like I give you life, and you know, this is what you do to me.
Well, you'd be in a new situation before. You're so inclined and conditioned to just having one or two other people on your team. This would be the first time you've actually had
a team,
a crew, an actual team at your disposal. And for a lot of us, you know, last year was that first year, and you know, from the old league to now, one of the biggest changes is, you know, it's an actual team, not like
2 people.
Yeah, it's not, you know, whole, you know, just duos versus. You know,
there's a lot less ghost men.
Yeah, a lot less ghost men. You know, a lot more competition. A lot more opportunities to see some web gyms without the webs, of course. But
back to Paul.
Yeah, hand gyms.
Yeah, but back to Paul. He's kind of muddled around the idea of trying to start his own team. But last time that I spoke to Paul and we talked about Wiffle ball, he joked about it, but he's like, I'll probably be back with you guys. It kind of is one of those things that if we can get David to come back, you know, because Dave was the one who brought Paul with him, you know. then we can get David to bring Paul with us. And if Paul can come back, then, hopefully we can get Kyle to come with us. And we can bring that collective group, because we didn't have everybody together.
Not all at once,
all
no.
at once,
But
no.
it was impressive what you had so far.
So I think if we take what we had in the middle of fall ball and at the end of fall ball, and we can put that together, I mean, we can do some damage. I'm not saying we're going to go undefeated or anything.
Yeah.
But
you can make a run for the cup, though. I mean, I'd also like to think that, like, you guys, it was sort of what made it tragic that you didn't come back to the 2013 season. You finished on a pretty good note. I mean, you were so close. And
you lost to the Yellow Beaver Fever in the championship.
You were playing for an audience of one. I was sitting on my throne, eating grapes, because my team didn't make it, and Jeremy had better things to do. So I was the only one there, and I was manning the cameras, and it looked like it was going to go like in the days of old. The pitching was going to dominate the game, and it was going to come down to one hit. And then, unexpectedly, Kyle was the one who delivered that momentum shift that would forever change the course of the game. But typically it goes the other way around. If history is any indication of what happened in the past with your team anyway.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hope that when you guys lost that game, you would come back thirsty for redemption and taking what you thought should have been yours, and then you weren't there, and it was kind of tragic in that.
Well, I don't want to say, at least on my behalf, I don't know what Arielle has to say, but for 2012, it just, things in our life didn't pan out the way we kind of were wanting them to. There were some decisions that, us were making, and so it wasn't the fact that we left,
It wasn't because we were upset.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
I'm not insinuating. Right. I'm just saying, like, it just, people come and they go. I mean, with the old league, we had people entering and exiting all the time. It's just part of the game. But it's always, because in the old league, anytime Greg and I we didn't win, we were coming back and we were taking it back, because the first 3 years
I think that might have been, though, like, part of the reason, like, we played fall ball. It's like, like Arielle and I remember us sitting down and we're like, we muddled over fall ball. It's like, I'm going to be starting grad school. Do I really have time to do this and stuff like that? And it's like, but at the same time, it didn't cost us anything financially to go play. And so, and that was part of a thing for last summer, that kind of hindered us, just because we weren't really in a financial standpoint to do that.
It was a risk too. You guys were so used to, we always did it for free, but we really upped it up. Every dime was spent and more.
Yeah, you didn't know where your money was going.
Yeah.
Until...
And that might have been part of the reason too. Like we talked to David, and David felt the same way. He's like, I don't want to do this kind of pay this money and not know what it's going to.
Yeah.
And David still even kind of to this day has some questions about it, but I think I've kind of eased his pain, being like, look, it's going to equipment and potentially maybe a third field. I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know 100% for sure.
We're going to try to get 4 fields.
But and that's what I told him. I was like, it's not like he's just pocketing them. Josh is pocketing them.
Actually, we lost.
Both of us went 200 in the hole each,
right,
just to get us started, because we didn't have the money up front, and even then we still spent all of it. And it was mainly, we were testing all that equipment we'd never used before for the first time, and it was the wrong equipment.
Yeah,
and we had to buy replacement equipment.
And so I think coming back and David even said, and Arielle and I both have said that, when we played fall ball this past year, the competition was a lot better. Right. And that was another big thing for our decision. We didn't want to come back and play like the same team every week.
Because it just gets monotonous, and it takes the fun out of it when you don't have other people to play with.
It's like a chess match with a twin or something.
Right.
You know the weaknesses.
Also, now we have the schedule that you can plan on how you're going to play, who you're playing. You can make some sort of strategy.
Right.
Get rotations together, change your batting order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It can be as complicated as you're willing to make it.
You can spend your entire day thinking about, up until the moment you play, and what you're going to do and how you want it to go.
Well, and like we've actually at dinner tonight, we were discussing our options for a batting order.
Because we're looking at adding a sixth player who's a friend of ours. We're not sure what he can do in general.
That's what spring training's for.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's something we might take advantage of. I know our team hasn't really been there for spring training or really done tournaments. We've just kind of shown up, stretched, played.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Sometimes that's all you need to do. Last year, spring training didn't pan out. It snowed the whole time.
Right.
I had the
Snowed out
flu.
the first day.
Yeah, it snowed out the first day and snowed out the second day, too.
I
And
had the
so,
flu the entire time.
so for us, like we wanted to come back to fall ball, see how everything had, I guess, gotten better. See if it had really gotten better, because I followed the summer.
Right.
I followed the league in the summer. And part of me at the time in the summer, I was like, oh man, I could just. And
Oh,
you and
yeah.
I had conversations
I can
on
imagine.
Facebook.
Yeah.
I remember that you were like, Josh, just like you don't even have to pay now, man. Just come back.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I will pay for it was like I don't know anyone who does crack. So this example is just bad from the start, but let's just go with it. You know, it was like I was trying to give someone their first fix for a while, and they'd already been in a 12-step program. They had that coin for like a year. Like, no, man, I'm cool. I can't. I want it. I want it so bad, you know. And then fall ball was coming up, and I was like, dude, no risk, no money. You come play for my team, because we still hadn't combined teams yet with Greg. I was like, just come pitch for me. Just come pitch for me. Join the dark side, you know, and just see how you like it, you know. I just knew once I could get you guys to come back and just see what all changed for the better.
Yeah.
But you can be the judge and tell me. But you know, you would be like, this is a different game now. It's a different level. So we'll be right back with our special guests, Josh Berletich and Arielle Hord, after this break.
Show me the money! That's it, brother, but you got to yell! Show me the money! I need to feel you, Jerry! Show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money! Show me the money! Do you love this black man? I love the black man! Show me the money! I love black people! I love black people! What you gonna do, Jerry? Show me the money!
So what went through your mind when you first came back? And this was fall ball. It wasn't quite as complicated of a setup. We changed a few things, fine-tuned some equipment like backstops and stuff like that. But I think we were operating at our most like peak performance, you know, of efficiency with the equipment. So what were you thinking as far as the atmosphere and the equipment setup when you first came to the field? Because you hadn't been back when you left in 2012 after the end of the championship game. We were playing like on a 70-degree angle, playing against a flat fence at a static angle, you know, center field's like 80 feet and down the line's like 90 feet, you know, and that was the first year we played a full year with foul poles, and, you know, we only had 2 bats between all of us and maybe a dozen balls. So, you know, what went through your mind?
I just think it was kind of overwhelming to me at first to see all these people. It's like, whoa, all these people want to play?
Yeah, there was like 50 people.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not going to lie, I had trouble keeping the team straight. I didn't know who was on what team, and, you know, which is a good thing, I guess, you know, but it definitely was a major improvement over what we had been playing. When we were playing 2-person teams, you're playing the same 2 people every week, and it just was...
And their ghosts.
And all the ghost people that we were playing against, you know, and it was much more enjoyable, I want to say, just for the simple fact that, you know, there was that variety, there was a different atmosphere, and, you know, you want to go out and you want to have fun, and you had 80% more people there to have fun with.
I think, like, even like from a competition standpoint, we didn't know what the other teams were like. They didn't know what we were like. And so certainly it made it interesting. And even after we had played the team before, like on our first 3 losses, and then we come back and make the 7-game win streak, and we got to play these teams again, there's still like this feeling in the pit of your stomach. It's like, man, they are, like, when we played them, they were better than us. I mean, they just spanked us. And so the competition, you know, has gotten a whole lot better, and it's, you know, it's driven us, right, to be better and things like that. So it's definitely, you know, from when we left to when we played fall ball, and hopefully what this upcoming season will be, it's just gotten a whole lot better. Things are a lot more efficient.
A lot more organized.
There's a lot more teams, you know, to play against.
Yeah. Each team has its own feel, too.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
They're all fun, but when we play against the Holy Balls later, it was just hilarious to play. You know, you got these people you look forward to playing.
Yeah.
Like, I never dreaded playing anybody. I knew we would lose some games.
Just Maroon Squad.
Yeah, well, I knew we'd lose it, but I always look forward to it.
Right.
So we got these people that most of them are from that kickball league that Brandon runs, also in Huntington, and it's pretty cutthroat, you know.
Yeah.
But they understand what the game's about.
Yeah.
And you know, when we had the old league and it was a much smaller player pool, and you had just one person or 2 people that they don't know what the game's about. It has such an adverse effect. Now you can have a player or two like that, and they'll get phased out.
Right.
The herd
Or
will
they'll
have its way.
They'll get phased out, or they'll learn the game.
Yeah, they'll learn. So I don't know. It's a lot of it's just fixed itself. We just made a few changes. We made a schematic of this is what we want. I basically made a copy pasta of all the leagues I liked. And made this test tube baby.
Well, even David, because David's been the only other team member on our team that's played in any other time other than just fall ball.
Right.
Paul and Kyle, that's all they've seen. So they don't know what
the bar's already so high.
They don't know what
Right.
2012
There
was
better
like.
be jumbotron and lips and everything.
If you make it the Nationals,
Hot
you'd be
dogs.
surprised.
Yeah.
But even David was like, man, I really hope the competition's. I hope it's not like 2012 where we just play the same teams over and over and over. And David liked it.
Well, and the other thing is too, with the smaller teams that there were a lot of personality issues, and there were times when people got under other people's skin, but you don't get that when you're playing.
You rely so much on those few people, though, that it's easy for that to happen.
Right. When you're playing different teams every week, you don't spend so much time with the same team that you just can't stand each other.
Yeah.
But having 8 teams, you see different people every week.
It's a lot of fun. I hate meeting new people. I'm so awkward at it. The fact that over half of the league that we had last year and over that, for football are people I did not know.
Right. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, that challenges me to, I kind of have to come out and talk to them and, entertain, host.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
I have to direct, I have to make sure everyone knows what they're doing and everyone's having a good time. And, and everybody sort of does that for each other. We're all chaperones. We're all guardians. We're all, So, I mean, it's just a totally different atmosphere. It's never felt like this in the old league. It didn't feel like that in 2012. And, as soon as opening day happened in 2013, we still didn't know what was going to happen. That's the only thing I still wish could happen this year that, has never happened. I want that certainty. I want, there's some leagues, they've already got 10 teams and they're having drafts and everything. It's all, I want to get to that point. Maybe this year is the year, or maybe it's not, but, we'll be having a first legitimate winter meeting.
Well, the draft really depends on how many extra players.
Well,
we get.
I mean, I don't think we'll ever putting a team together is so complicated. You have all these Arielle said, the personality clashes,
Right.
and then
I think for this area too, if you compare Huntington Wiffle Ball, it's here in West Virginia.
Yeah.
The pick of people that are wanting to play outdoors of any kind of thing, be outdoor recreational, as far the pickings here are slim if you compare it to the league in New York or something like that.
And we've got people that don't want to be separated.
yeah. Well, I mean, we did a big experiment with Greg and I with both of our teams, and with Beaver Fever and with me. We took on free agents
Some worked out, some didn't.
Well, I mean, it worked out for the most part, but you got to work harder. And like you said with Kyle or Paul, you guys didn't know Paul from Adam before that, and David. You have these bridges you build, socially, and it's very important. I'm big into believing. I think all three of us, we've talked about this at length, in previous podcasts. Team chemistry is everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's something that her and I noticed on other teams. There's this chemistry between her and I, because we've been together outside of wiffle ball.
Yeah.
I mean, with our relationship, and so there is a chemistry that her and I have. There's a chemistry that David and I have, and we all, we've all hung out outside of wiffle ball, so that definitely helps our chemistry.
It's like telekinesis. You know what the other person's going to do before they do it, and there's the same mind and all this stuff. This team unity stuff that you think is cliche, but it does exist, even in something stupid. Playing plastic baseball.
Well, if you have a team of assholes, they're never going to get along.
Yeah,
Right.
they're probably going to fail.
You could write a book about it.
Dismantle and be called the Welfare Warriors.
It will make or break a team. So I would never consider
I'm
a
thinking
course
about
for
resurrecting fat bastards.
Ooh,
I think it'll be a little bit better.
Fat Bastards Redux. So it would just be you, nobody else from the original team is there, because it was you and Tyler and.
But
He's in Kentucky, so.
something about this league is, even what we realized in fall ball, it's a lot harder to play with 2 people, even 3 people. I mean, that's part of the reason why we brought on Paul and we brought on Kyle, is it takes the burden of you having to do everything.
Yeah.
I can just focus on pitching.
Yeah.
I can let Arielle, David, Kyle, Paul all do the fielding. And that's something I even had to work on because I wanted to go after that football or something like that.
Well, it's nice, you know. You get to believe in people, and even when they mess up, you're like, well, you know, you don't feel as bad because you didn't fail, or it wasn't in a jurisdiction that you felt that you should have went and got, because the burden is unloaded to other people.
Well, and for as long as we played with just the two of us, it got to the point where I felt like anything that happened in the outfield was my fault.
Right.
Because he was busy pitching, and I had to cover the entire field. And let's face it, I can't run that fast.
Arms faster than
and
swim.
Right, exactly. Yeah, give me a pool, I'll be fine. You know, and we were playing against teams that had 3, 4, 5 people in the playing in the outfield.
And we widened it to 90 degrees again. That was the first thing we said when we started the new league. We're like 90 degrees, you know.
Right.
And like after a half an inning to an inning, you get, you pitch, you go to bat, and and for 2 or 3 people, that's a lot of running. And by the second or third inning, you're just gassed.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't have it to finish it. And
you can build that stamina, but it takes weeks to. By the time you've got it, you only got a couple weeks of season left.
Right. And just but having more people collectively, you don't necessarily need to have that kind of a stamina. I mean, as long as I can pitch, and they can field, we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll be right back after this short break. From one person who believes walking is important because it's absolutely necessary, especially against a good batter, and it's part of the game. It's a legit strategy.
Yeah, just like intentionally walking someone is.
Can you tell us, Arielle, Josh, what is the importance of walking? What do you believe is the importance?
Well, I like walking because I don't have to run, but that's just personal opinion. Walking is an easy way, or an easier way, let's put it that way, to put another person on base. You've got somebody on base, guaranteed, they're walking down that line, standing on first base. Mm-hmm. Now, if you play it right, next person up, hit it over the fence. There's 2 runs right there. And also from an offensive standpoint, the more that you walk, the more you're making the pitcher work.
Yeah.
Right.
They're guaranteed to have to throw at least 4 pitches in your at bat.
Well, 6.
6, yeah.
Well, 6 in this league.
We're considering moving it down to 5, but
okay, so 6 balls. That it's going to wear their pitcher down a little bit quicker, and typically that's what you want to do. Not to sound vicious, but that's just it's a part of the game. It's a strategy. So if you're patient enough to stand up there and watch the ball go by, why not take advantage of that, especially if you have a pitcher that isn't going to hit the backstop.
I think you're part of the reason why that first pitch strike thing
right, exactly. They implemented the first pitch strike because I like to stand up there and watch the ball go by.
Well, that was in the preliminary rule book for the inaugural season, but I was like, that's just too harsh. But I wish I would have kept it in there because it was an epidemic. I think there is, I don't know the number, but I think there is a limit. It's just like, it's too much. We're walking too many people. And, as somebody pitched a lot the first 2 seasons, I can say, just for me, walking, there's something more frustrating than walking someone.
Right.
It's like giving up a home run, walking. And it's like, walking is a very close second. I would almost rather give up a grand slam.
So close to hitting that strike zone.
Yeah.
And it's like, you feel defeated.
You start off bad, if that first pitch isn't a strike, maybe after the week 2, no one's going to be looking at that first pitch. It's going to have to be really, really gone for people not to swing.
Right.
They're going to go for it. Because it's going to happen to everybody one time, and, oh, God, listening to the shit the team gives them, when they do that, it doesn't matter what the team is. It's just relentless. So, from a pitcher's standpoint, it not only wears down your arm and ups the pitch count and affects your stamina, it affects your mentality, your morale. It'll affect you at bat. Your entire state of mind for that game and maybe for the week is wrecked. If you're having a hard time, and then you try to bury that and not reveal that to your opponent, but it's evident.
Right.
There's from a pitcher standpoint, because me as a batter, I hate walking.
No, I do too.
I hate walking. I'd much rather just hit the ball. If I ground out, I ground out. But I hate walking, and that's something I've had to learn how to do. I think I took a little bit more walks in fall ball than I have, maybe, I don't know statistically, just playing though. But as a pitcher, I hate to walk people, because that's an automatic person there on the base that has the potential to score. And you work so much harder, and it's just a seed that gets planted in the back of your mind, like, oh man, I don't want to walk this person because this person's up to bat. And that's part of a strategic thing, I guess, from if you're the opposing team, how you set up your batting order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Arielle walks more, so subsequently I'm going to put a better hitter, or not saying that she's a bad hitter, but somebody that hits a home run right behind her. She's going to get on base.
You're up in your RBI possibilities. Yeah. I mean, it's a smart way to play. I'm not denying that. It's just when we're going to the yellow bat, we're going to start relying on a lot of small ball. It's just that walking is seen as like the smallest
Right.
ball, and then it's going to become,
especially
as a
since
result,
there's no bunts.
As a result, it's going to be even more impactful
Right.
as far as putting runs on the board. But here's the numbers I've got so far. Both you walked 6 times apiece during fall ball. The person that walked the most was Zach. He walked 12 times, but that was also because he had 12 home runs and 34 RBIs. He led the league offensively, so people were pitching around him. Now, during the 2012 season, Arielle had 33 walks, and then our producer, Jeremy, had 28 walks. Greg had 22. Josh, you had 15. The average amount of walks was probably about 10 walks. And then during fall ball, the average was probably about 5. So, we're 50% where we used to be, and part of that's because of pitching accuracy. We started scuffing the balls to have better control over them. But I think a lot of it's where people are just like, no, I will not walk. There were some teams we talked about during the first podcast after fall ball, with back tag, where some teams like the master batters and Go Jackie Go, they just refuse to walk, and then you look at them and they lost some games because of that. Just a 1-2 runs, and the difference could have been that solo home run not have been a solo home run.
It could have been a 2-run.
Could have been a 2 or 3 3-run dinger. So I mean, those are the differences. Those impact players sometimes do not have 500 batting average. Sometimes they got 33 walks. And it's not seen there. And unfortunately, you didn't really get a chance to play that up as much as in 2012 because of the amount of team members you had. Probably the most valuable player was the Ghost Man.
Right.
MVP.
MVP was someone that's not even real. So
and from a hitter standpoint, if you're in a slump, go ahead and take a walk.
Yeah.
You
can't get any worse.
Exactly. It's not going to hurt your batting
It's
average.
save your team from getting
and
out.
your on base
Right.
percentage will skyrocket.
Right, exactly. It's not a bad thing to walk. I mean, maybe it's because I'm not really that good at running there to first base, but I have no problem taking a walk. Maybe it's because I'm not a power hitter. I don't crush the ball either when I hit, so I'll take the guaranteed walk to first base.
Well, while we're talking about offense, mainly, what are your guys' thoughts on the yellow bat format? I'd like Arielle to answer this first, because I've got some stats here that I've unearthed from a tomb. It was a long time ago. From 2010, during the regular season from the Garrett Dry Wiffle League and Hurricane, you were the 4th best batter of the whole season. You batted .575, had 3 home runs and 15 RBIs, and only struck out 7 times. The entire season, if I'm not mistaken, you used the yellow bat, this is the banana bat, and then during the regular season, you batted in 2012 .343. That was using the lady bat, the MLB powerhouse bat. Walked 33 times, had 8 strikeouts, and only 15 RBIs. And then using what's probably our most aggressive and most offensively charged bats we've ever had, using Louisville Slugger T271s and the Eastern Pro Sticks 2000 bats, you hit...
Let's not talk about it.
160.
You had the lowest batting average in the league of 182, and you had 6 walks, 9 strikeouts, which is a career high for you, I think.
Whoop, whoop.
No home runs, and actually no RBI. So, this seems like the complete opposite of the trend we saw before, where we're all steadily, it's like an inflation. It's just like rising. The average batting average from day one has just been rising now, and it's just this bubble. It's got to bust, and before it does naturally, why don't we just go ahead and remedy the problem with the yellow bat? So, given that you have that unique, I don't think anyone else can say that that's happened. You've had like the opposite of what seems to be natural effect with the bat. So, what do you think? We've been discussing this for months, and we ask everyone we talk to about it. So, just your 2 cents.
I mean, obviously, I want to go back to the yellow bat. Give me those stats back. And I really don't have an explanation for it. I don't know if it's, growing up playing softball, our bats were smaller than the balls we were playing with. So I was used to, the changes,
The ratios.
Ratios, yeah. I don't know. I can't explain that. Let's go back to the yellow bat. Give me my better batting
What's the worst that
average
can
bat.
happen? Maybe lightning strikes twice, and
And
the anomaly is
right.
proven.
And maybe I end up at the bottom of the league in batting average.
But everyone else is going to be using the same bat, so maybe not.
Right. And I believe, if I remember correctly, when you gave us the option to use either the yellow bat or the black bat, I still continued to use the yellow bat.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I felt more comfortable with it, so I'm all for the yellow bat.
Josh?
I'm kind of indifferent. Part of me says, yeah, let's use the yellow bat because I'm the pitcher for my team, so my strikeouts are probably going to go up.
Yeah, you're dealing with half the surface area. Yeah.
It's like I got this. They got a yellow bat, and there's a YouTube video out there of me that says Burley goes yard, and that home run was off of a yellow bat, and that's just the loudest hit home run I think I've heard, at least in wiffle ball.
The home runs we hit during that season were the longest home runs I've ever seen.
Except for the one Kyle hit this fall ball.
Yeah, but he didn't hit the yellow bat.
He didn't
went over the
have the yellow bat. But, I would be... The only thing I'm scared of as far as the yellow bat is that it's going to scare people away because they're like, oh, well, I'm not as good, or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm not playing like I played last year because we've got this yellow bat.
Yeah, but I think it evens our playing field out a little bit more.
It's just, we're just taking a step down.
And that's another thing is it's like, people that compete against this team, the Maroon Squad. And from the sounds of it, Maroon Squad just wiped the board with everybody. Or at least hit plenty of home runs.
Yeah, but for fall ball, the competition was way higher than it ever was in the regular season.
And so it takes a team like that, or it takes a team like Bag Tag that were up there with these black bats, and it takes them
down to the level of
everybody else, and you have to strategize differently playing with the yellow bat.
Yeah.
And it makes the games a little more exciting when it's not 12-2. That it's 2-1 because that one run matters.
Yeah. Well, we had so many mercy rule games and so many like 5, 6, 7 run games.
What you talking about, Willis?
And the thing I love the most about hitting with the yellow bat is you never know what you're going to get. There is no sweet spot with that bat, but it's rigid. It does not bend that much. It doesn't give, and it is solid as a rock. And it's, if you connect with that ball just right, they're going to sail. And if you hit a ground ball, it's a solid ground ball.
Right.
Off the handle with those black bats. It's just so much that's going to happen. You'll probably hit some more foul balls, and the only thing I'm worried about as a pitcher is people won't take as many risks if it's an inch or two outside of the strike zone. Inside pitches.
But isn't that yellow bat longer than the black bat?
No, it's 3 inches shorter. Wow. It's 30 inches long. All the black bats are 33 inches longer. But it's just 3 inches, though. But for someone like me, that's a big difference. No, but for someone like me who bats on the backside of the batter's box, I'm going to have to adapt dramatically.
And the other thing, too, is, it makes us seem a little bit more legit, too. People might take us a little bit more seriously.
It'll help our stats better reflect against other leagues.
Right.
That's what we all want to do when we get together. We all want to go like, what's your, it sounds sad, but, we don't necessarily do it in this way. But, we all follow each other's leagues, and we try to see who's best. And then when that tournament comes, so we know, what to expect from them.
Right.
And when we all sort of have numbers that are reflective and, equal each other, it's a lot better.
Is there any way we can copy the Southeast Michigan Football League?
what in any more way than what we already do.
You know, by our averages, batting averages, and even.
Now, we can't copy that. But this will get us closer to that, though. But we're not doing it because they do it. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You know, and they're not even using yellow bats anymore. The pitching is so elite and so tricky that they have to use the black bats, and their averages are still like 300. You know, if we ever get to that point, then we'll bring back the black bats. But right now, we're not. I mean, you are probably our fastest pitcher with maybe Steven, and if I'm on it, you know, a pitch or two, I might touch 70 or so. You know, Clag can pitch probably 75. You know, 75, maybe 80. If that's the fastest pitch that you can expect, and it's not going to be ongoing and unwavering and with curves and stuff. Most of those are just fastballs or sinkers. You know, what's the point of having this overinflated bat? You know, all you gotta do is just stick it out there. There were some home runs I hit that was like,
you didn't even.
Yeah, I didn't even run it because I was like, I'm not worthy. You know,
Right.
I wasn't.
Most of my home runs, I barely swung one.
Yeah. So I just think, what's the harm to just pile it out 1 year? You know, and it'll, if anything, we'll be better warmed up for tournaments. Every tournament we've thought about going to or have gone to, they're yellow bat.
Well, and nothing's to say that, you know, if everything is down the tubes for the first half of the season, okay, bring back the black bat. You know, I mean, if we're experimenting to start with, you know, we
But I think
see how it goes.
I think that if we were using yellow bat from the get go, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Right.
You know, about the second half of the season,
by the second half of the season, you are as good as you're going to be.
Right.
You know? And if you can have that yellow bat and you have the black bat, so if anything, it'd be twice as ridiculous amount of home runs and stuff during the second half of the season. So I think whatever decision we ultimately make, hopefully towards yellow bat, it's just going to be a stagnant decision that goes through the year. You know, and I have faith that, you know, once we get through this couple of weeks, it may be a little rough, but things will smooth out.
Right.
You know, you'll have people that maybe all they did was play fall ball. You know, people on your team, they're going to struggle initially, or they won't. You know, it's sink or swim, and sometimes there's no rhyme to reason or why they do that. It just ends up being that way. But, you know, we've talked about it for hours, you know, about the yellow bats. Like, I just want to try it. But we ask everyone
that's fine.
that's been on the show what their thoughts are, because everyone has a slightly different thing that they add to the argument that, you know, has not been brought up before, and it ends up being this complicated. It's almost like, is slavery wrong? Yes or no? You know, but it's like, this seems like a simple thing, but you know, when you know, it's like a big wheel of possibilities. We'll be right back with our special guests, Josh Berletich and Arielle Hord, after this break.
This is the honey badger. Watch it run in slow motion. It's pretty badass. Look, it runs all over the place. Whoa, watch out, says that bird. Ew, it's got a snake. Oh, it's chasing a jackal. Oh my gosh. Oh, the honey badgers are just crazy. The honey badger has been referred to by the Guinness Book of World Records as the most fearless animal in all of the animal kingdom. It really doesn't give a shit. If it's hungry, it's hungry. Ew, what's that in its mouth? Oh, it's got a cobra. Oh, it runs backwards. Now watch this. Look, a snake's up in the tree. Honey badger don't care. Honey badger don't give a shit. It just takes what it wants.
Final question. Who are the teams to beat in 2014? Not all of these teams are set in stone to return, but, you know, teams like your team, the Green Bears, Bag Tag,
teams you've heard about,
Maroon Squad. You know, half the teams that have existed within the past year are going to be coming back for sure.
Well, I don't think we actually played Maroon Squad.
Yeah,
we've never
played them.
They're just stuff of legend.
Here's the question: is who won the league last year?
Maroon Squad.
Maroon Squad. Well, then they're the team to beat. They're the champions.
Well, any teams you definitely have a score to settle.
Yeah. Obviously, Bag Tag. With the discrepancy
who's the Wiffle Ballers?
Oh, they're the teams that
just kidding.
Man.
Yeah.
Wait, was that the team with
Stephanie?
And that guy that bats left-handed. He was a left-handed batter.
Yeah.
Well, we beat them.
Or Tim. That was Tim. He had blonde hair.
Yeah, he had blonde hair. He was quick. God, I hated walk. I walked him every time. I just can't pitch against left-handers.
Great pitching, great defense, great offense. When they had all the ingredients together, they were missing a few people that last week. They were missing Aaron, probably the best fielder in the league, I'd say.
Yeah.
At that point, the last week, and that's why.
I guess for me, not necessarily Wiffle Ballers, but still, it's Bag Tag. You know, they set the bar so high, at least in Wiffle Ball. for the amount of runs that
Well,
they
according to
put up.
them, in everything they do, they set the bar pretty high.
Yeah, well,
pretty cocky at this point.
They did lose to
Gotta
us in
kick
that
off
last
and-
week, so just
We beat
saying.
them too, so.
Yeah, we beat them the first or
Good
second
Bears.
week. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, it'll be interesting to see changes that have happened between fall ball and this coming, because
and-
everybody understands, what's expected. I know some people are out conditioning already for the season.
With their music.
Yeah. It's
Wonder who came up with that.
I don't know. Some douche that's a co-host.
I
Guys in free agency.
think it'll be interesting to see how everything pans out, see who brings people back.
I'm excited to see Maroon Squad. For this, everybody's kind of has taken Maroon Squad and they've set them up on this pedestal, and
You want to
somebody's
ask for an
got
autograph?
to dethrone them. And
Are you prepared for a joint in one mouth and a beer in the other, and they're still kicking your ass?
Yeah, it's party time. I mean, it's crazy.
I would
They're
like
a blast
note
to
that
play, though. I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Yellow Beaver Fever does hold a victory over Maroon Squad.
Yeah. We got
That's the
so
day.
close, so close.
And that's the day they didn't have a beer.
Exactly.
That's true.
So
That was
we're
like
excited to
bit.
play. I'm excited to pitch against them. I'm excited to play bag tag again. They were definitely on the last game that we played them, that we beat them in, because they crushed us the first time we played them. But we only had 3 players. But the last time we played them, I mean, it was at least with the black bat, it was a back and forth. We'd hit a couple home runs, they'd come back and hit a couple home runs.
They play hard.
We'd come back and hit a couple home runs. So it was an offensive thing, and pitching didn't even really matter. But again, if we bring the yellow bat back for this season, it should make things a lot more interesting. But I think Maroon Squad, because we've never, at least for me, Maroon Squad, because we've never played them, and they are the champions, and bag tag. Anybody for you, Arielle?
I already have expressed my views.
Everybody.
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 Team to beat us. Is that? I heard that's what you said.
Yeah.
Everybody's going down.
I mean, we are coming into 2014 with a 7-game win streak.
Yeah, you're coming in hot. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all the questions that we have for our special guests today, Josh Berletich and Arielle Hord.
Well,
They will be coming back for the 2014 season.
Indeed.
Yes, and don't forget, April 1st, our season kicks off. February 4th is the winter meeting of Fat Patty's Restaurant and Bar in Huntington.
David, if you listen to this, you can drink beer at the winter meetings. You can
Yes.
come with me and drink beer.
Yes.
As much as you want.
Yes, there will be beer. You're going to be buying your own, though. I might buy a bucket of Bud Light for everybody, but that'll be about it. We're going to be drawing for divisions, settling some scores with the rules, eating some burgers. It's Tuesday night when this happens, so burgers are buy one, get one free, 2 for Tuesday. That's right. It's going to be crazy. Okay.
And don't forget, it is the only place and time you will have the chance to vote on the yellow bat.
And it matter.
You get a chance to voice your opinion.
Yeah, you'll get a chance to voice your opinion. Your opinion will be heard. I might just ignore
But
it
it doesn't
anyway.
matter. It doesn't
I might just ignore it anyway, but we'll see. We'll hash it out. March 1st is the cutoff date. If you pay your registration fee, is $30 per player before March 1st. After March 1st, I don't care if you just had a baby, it's $40. You still get a chance to play before you pay the last 2 weeks of March to see if you like it during spring training, but it is still $40 nonetheless. So, teams out there, fill out the sign-up sheet. You can print it off in a PDF file on the website, huntingtonwiffleball.com. Click on join. You can pay using PayPal, or you can pay using cash, no checks, at the winter meeting in person.
Why no checks?
Why no checks? Because they could bounce. Then I'd have to go to the bank. I don't have time for that shit. Cash, suitcase, under the bridge, no cops.
No money order?
Yeah. Bring me the money. Okay. Next month, we'll be having James Clegg and Randy Steele of Maroon Squad for the 2013 reigning champions to get their outlook for the 2014 season after the winter meeting. March, we will have Kevin Haynes and Aaron Torchio of Cincinnati Wiffle Ball Club. Anybody who wants to be interviewed after that is open. Just give us an email at huntingtonwiffle@gmail.com. Don't forget to find us on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, signing off, I am Josh Smith with my co-hosts
Greg Sowards.
and
Jeremy Litton.
our special guests.
Josh Berletich.
Arielle, Hord.
Team Honey Badger.
We will talk to you soon.
Here we go. That's it. That's all there is to it.
What's that, a mouse? Oh, that's nasty. Oh, they're so nasty. You think the honey badger cares? It doesn't give a shit.